Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to a new episode of the Gaming Chitchat show with Sean, the Gaming Chitchat podcast, where we talk everything about gaming, right? And I'm always trying to think of different exciting topics because there's so many different things we could talk about. And we've touched on quite a few things already. In this series. The series is fairly new yet. And I've been wanting to talk about this for a while. Early PC gaming, right? I started off strictly as a PC gamer. I wouldn't say started off, but that's when I started getting really serious, I mean, the Atari 2600, the original NES, I had, but when I started getting into PCs, now mind you, I'm talking PCs. Let me actually jump to hold on here. We'll get back to the desktop in a minute. I'm talking PC days where, the PC wasn't common in the house. 9 out of 10 people didn't have a PC. They were extremely expensive. A PC was like a thing to own. It's not like it was today. I'm talking about when I had PCs, it was like people would come over and see it in my room and say, holy shit, you have one of them? And I always had the newest shit. I mean, when the color monitor came out, it was like the biggest thing. I was dumping my green monitor. I was getting a color monitor. I was the first to get sound. I know you kids grow, my younger audience is like sound. No, that was a big thing then. When the CD-ROM first came out, even that move to, the big floppy disks to 3.5. I've been through it all. I went through the 14.4 modem to the 28.8 to the 56.6. I was the first in my county to have high-speed internet, which was way before a cable, DSL. It was satellite. I was one of the first on my block to have dial-up internet. There was like 2 websites at the time. Mind you, there was no images on the internet. You had a basic browser that just had text. You had these things called BBSs that your local paper would give you these numbers that you would dial in, and you would go on these sites, and they were bare bones, and there was no such thing as images. As a matter of fact, I remember, I believe it was CNN. It was during the O.J. Simpson case. They were updating their website with images from the trial, from the court case, and they would load real slow, and that was like a big thing. Like, oh my God, there's images on here. I'm an old timer. I've been through it all. Me and my cousin, way before the internet was a thing, were ordering stuff online from like other people, like directly. Like, this is way before eBay. And people would come downstairs and they would, like me and him, they would call it the dungeon. You would hear the modem. We would use up the phone lines. I remember my dad would always be mad because we would use the phone lines up and he couldn't use the phone. And every time he would go to pick the phone up, landlines, mind you, this is way before cell phone, my dad would always, could tell I was on the internet. And I would be downloading like Doom or something, or some, shareware version of something. And, he would have to wait for me to get finished. This is when it was not the norm. I remember when they first had chatting, where you could chat back and forth. And I remember me and my cousin were chatting for the first time on these BBS servers. And then we started going on internet rally chats, like IRC. And it was just mind-blowing. And people would come over. I would have people come over from my school, and they couldn't believe what they were seeing. I got one of my first computers from Radio Shack. My first serious computer that I could actually game on. I had about in the early days, I had about 30 to 40 computers. I would actually get new computers like people would change their underwear. I had the Cadillac Rolls Royces of computers though for back in the day. I had the first MMX chip. I had the first Pentium. I had the first Voodoo card, graphics card. I had the first Sound Blaster. I remember buying a surround sound. I think it was way before Alltech Lansing. I had that. I had a Harman Kardon, if I'm saying the name right, speaker, subwoofer. But before that, I had a Cambridge. They were little squares, and I had like 5 of them, and I put them, Velcroed them underneath my desk, and then above my desk, and you had like surround sound. So when I was playing like Myst or Leisure Suit Larry or Duke Nukem or Quake, it was like you were in a theater. And then we were playing like QuickTime movies, like these real cheesy looking QuickTime movies that we had found on somebody's server that we downloaded. That was another big thing too. The internet companies would cap you. Now here's the problem with that. They would bandwidth cap you. Here's the cool thing about this is that I was fortunate in the early computer days once I started hitting the internet, because I was on the internet way before anybody else, because my best friend that I'm still close with today owned his own internet service down the street here. He owned his own network. I was able to get my own email with my first and last name. This is way before Hotmail, Yahoo, Gmail. He had his own search engine and his own internet service, and people paid him around our county for dial-up internet. And he only went out of business once, high-speed internet came out. But he provided many years of dial-up internet, and me and him were testers. And we had actual internet 2-3 years before the first people had it. It was bare bones. Only like the government was on it. But it was insane. I remember a lot. I remember, going on a lot of websites. Netscape Navigator was some of the browsers that we used. There was a lot of these other browsers, but, you had search engines like DuckDuckGo, Web Crawler. I'm going way back. Yahoo was the top dog. Remember, this is before Google. Thank God. Yahoo was big. I remember subscribing to Yahoo Magazine. They used to send the magazine to my house. It was all about Yahoo services. But gaming was awesome then. There was some great games. And gaming in that era, I always say this, computers were fun then. They weren't nerve-wracking. They weren't a hassle. They weren't a job. It's not like computers today. They weren't garbage either. They were awesome back then. I remember when I first got my first series computer, it was the Tandy x86 with turbo boost. This little Tandy was the hot shit. And I would play all my early games on there. And I got some websites loaded up that I want to share with you of some memories of some hardware and games that I had. But the Tandy was awesome, and there's a story about that. My cousin was already well-versed. He was building computers. I'm talking before people were building computers, before it was a big thing. You got all these people on YouTube now. This was way before that. They weren't even a thought. And he was building computers, and I remember I bought my first Radio Shack computer. because that's where you went then. They had CompUSA, but that was like way later. And Sam Goody and all that. But mind you, computers were fucking expensive then. You think they were expensive today? Games and software was expensive then. I'm talking expensive. And he came over and he said, dude, you got ripped. Apparently what had happened was the sales associate at Radio Shack sold me all the wrong stuff that was in the ad, and I paid top dollar. Sold me less RAM, sold me less hard drive space, and sold me the wrong graphics card. What was it like back then? It was like, I don't know. The hard drive was a joke, but I mean, for then, it was a big difference. So I'll never forget walking into Radio Shack. You know, I spent like over $2,000 walking into Radio Shack, and I remember the guy's face when we were telling him everything that was inside the computer. My cousin brought in a screwdriver, and he literally opened the computer up in front of them. And he goes, look at what you sold my cousin. And I remember the manager came, and he looked at the sales associates, and his jaw dropped. And he goes like this, and he goes, oh, just get him whatever he wants, replace it. And everybody that was shopping would just stare and look at us, and like, they just walked out. I mean, that was unheard of then, that you knew what the hell you were talking about. So, you know, I learned a lot from him, especially on the early years. You know, then we started getting heavy into building freaking computers. I mean, we had our own network service. We had a gaming server. We would play freaking Quake. We had servers for Unreal Tournament. I mean, landlines. It was insane. Halo. I want to show you some stuff. So you're getting a kick out of this. This is going way back. So this was Sound Blaster. Creative Technology. And the crazy thing about Sound Blaster is that when the early Sound Blaster cards came, it was mind-blowing that you didn't just hear beeping coming out of your computer. Which was awesome because when you started playing games like Monkey Island, you'd actually hear like MIDI music files playing instead of just horrible beeping coming out of the motherboard. So let's see. I had the Sound Blaster, the original, right? I had Sound Blaster 2.0, and I think Sound Blaster Pro, and I had Sound Blaster Live. I remember getting. Let's see if that's on here. Sound Blaster 16. I believe I had that in one of my machines. Yeah, it's 16-bit CD quality. I definitely had this. All 32. Sound Blaster Live, right here. So this came way later. But yeah, I had most of these cards. What a cool thing about Sound Blaster was it came with software to show off the sound card. I remember it was Talking Parrot, which was how I remember this. It was a parrot that you would talk to. And then there was Dr. Spatzo, which was a text-to-speech chat program where it would talk to you back. And me and my dad would talk to this thing for hours and ask it questions. It was very advanced. And it was almost like, I don't want to say her name because she's going to go off. She starts with an A. Or Siri, even. And he would answer you back. I think a lot of influence from these new technologies today came from Dr. Spatzo. Moving along. This is similar to what my Tandy looked like. It's similar. Of course, we had that Windows 3.1 for workgroups. Oh my God. I mean, coming off of straight DOS and command prompts, Windows 3.1 was like, holy crap. This is the evolution. This is like where technology is headed. I'll never forget it. It's like a graphical interface. Because before that, I was using a program in DOS called Norton Commander, which kind of made it a little bit easier for you instead of, because I was straight DOS. I was like CD backslash window, CD backslash directory backslash tree .sys.exe auto execbat. So like when Norton Commander came out, it was a lot easier to navigate through menus and windows and like subfolders. So when Windows came out, Windows 3.1, holy crap. You want to talk about game changers in technology, right? I mean, you still had the command prompt. 3DFX Interactive. Wow, 3DFX Interactive. Yep. They made the video cards. So, let's see. Voodoo, right? Yep, Voodoo. I had the first Voodoo card. I had the Voodoo Rush. Oh, yeah. I was up all on that. I had the Voodoo 2. I think what happened was I had the Banshee, but I had bought a computer that already had the Banshee in it. Oh, this is cool. In 97, 3DFX was working with the entertainment company Sega to develop a new video game system, the Dreamcast. Quote unquote, the Black Belt. Black Belt technology. Unit code named the Katana. Oh boy. I remember this. Because I had pre-ordered the Dreamcast from a store called Finger Hut, which is still around today. Voodoo 3, I had that. So like how you guys have like, NVIDIA, GeForce, RTX. Well, back in the day, it was 3DFX Interactive with Voodoo. If you had a Voodoo card in your computer, you were top shit. I mean, I know they talk about, I'll never forget, I had this conversation with somebody, and it was about the MMX chip, and they were doing a thing about the MMX chip. I took on this guy. He was a writer, and for a magazine, and I wrote in, and we were going back and forth. And I remember he published me. I'm trying to think, was it PC Informer or PC? I forget. PC Gamer, but whatever. And I had a discussion. I was like, I don't know how old I was then. I was young. I was a kid. About the speeds and everything, and how the Voodoo was like top of the game. And he's trying to say, oh, the MMX chip that's all you need. And the MMX chip, I had the MMX chip also. So I would actually do comparisons at my house. Mind you, this is way before the days of YouTube. I used to take this shit so serious. Monkey Island, one of the games that I played, one of the physical discs that I had on my PC. This is gorgeous. They're bringing this back in a beautiful box set, but I had the original Monkey Island 2, LeChuck's Revenge, The Curse of Monkey Island 3. But I remember Monkey Island. Physical games were so gorgeous back then. Here's a perfect example. You had the box. You had the wheel. This is how you would get into the game with the password. You have to spin the wheel, match the pictures up together to form a pin code. You had the discs. Beautiful. What a classic. Myst. I just recently bought a mint copy sealed of Myst on eBay. Then you had after Myst, you had Riven, Exile. Yep. Beautiful adventure game. One of the classics on the PC. It got ported later to many other consoles. Wound up on the 3DS. Then they had Real Myst, which was like a 3D version of it where you could actually fully move around. Ha! there actually was a spoof game called Pissed. True story. Look that up. But Myst was awesome. Myst was one of my favorite. The Seventh Guest. When I see this box, I get the goosebumps. This was a classic. This was. I'll never forget when my cousin came over and I just got my CD-ROM, and I got the wrong CD-ROM. I got a slower speed CD-ROM, and they had already come out with a faster speed. And he's like, "Dude, you're gonna have problems with the Seventh Guest. It's not gonna run right." And he was right. And I remember every QuickTime movie, it would skip. So everything that they would say, they said twice. So let's say it was an 8X. I wound up buying a 16X. And then a few months later, I wound up upgrading to a 32X. You could actually hear the CD spin. I had problems with 3 games. I had problems with the Seventh Guest because I had a lot of QuickTime movies. I had a problem with Myst, believe it or not, because there was QuickTime movies in that. They would really chug. And I had problems with a game called Phantasmagoria, which was a Sierra game that was on 7 discs. One of my all-time favorite games, believe it or not. And of course, I can't leave out Police Quest, one of my favorite series growing up on the PC. Police Quest 4 Open Season. This game changed my life. I see so many games today that take after this game. In a lot of ways, like one is like Heavy Rain. I just see a lot of inspiration. Police Quest was the shit. The graphics for its time. Wow. Great stuff. That's how it was then, guys. That's how gaming was. That's how PC gaming was. I'm trying to think what else. Hardware-wise. I was always into speakers. I was always into subwoofers. I mean, I'm talking, that came way later with PC people. I was doing that day one. I was trying to make a badass PC from day one. Always trying to upgrade it. Constantly broke. Constantly spending money on shit. I'll never forget. This is a true story. A computer shop opened up in our area. A computer shop opened up in our area. It was for PC repair. Now, I was doing my own. And people were coming here and dropping their computers off. When people started buying them, it started becoming a thing. Windows was out. Prices started coming down a little. Well, a computer store had opened up here. I mean, in the middle of nowhere. I said to myself, man, I don't know if this place is going to last. I hope they do. Because what happened was I didn't care about the repair part because I was doing my own. But they sold parts, like if I needed a part. But he put in a whole line of games. He had a nice selection. It was god-awful expensive, but he had a whole shelf. Do you know I was there once a week buying him out? And I remember, never forget, a few months went by and I saw the, going out of business sign. And I walked in there and I said, his name was Grant. I said, oh man, I said, you're going out? He goes, Sean, you were my only customer. You kept us alive. I was spending the high thousands a month in this store. Aside from games, I ordered stuff. If there was a new CD-ROM drive coming out, if there was a new Voodoo card, if there was a new Sound Blaster, if there was a new model Intel Pentium, and he even said, man, dude, I never have to find out what the trend is or what's going on because I just wait for you to order and I know what's available, or I'll just order 2 and have one for my showroom. that was the good days. That was the good old days. That was some fun stuff, man. PC, man, it's not like that anymore. They took it way out of proportion. They did. It's just crazy now, especially now with everything with availability with graphics cards. It's like, man, shit wasn't like that back then. It was a different era. It was a different time. Do you guys have any memories growing up of PC gaming? What PC games did you play growing up? What PC games do you play now? Are you a PC gamer now? What was one of your first PC games that you played? And what is a PC game that you still play today? I actually was thinking about putting some stuff on my Surface just to have it, mobile. I got some things here on my laptop. I got some things, of course, on my gaming rig. So I got plenty of PCs around for work and for gaming. PC, there's always going to be a market for it. And consoles are cool, but PCs are always going to be a thing. Not the cheapest thing. But, it's nice because you have the freedom to customize them, to build them the way you like, and not everyone's machine is the same. Take care, guys. Thank you for another great episode of the Gaming Chitchat Show podcast. Chime in, interact, and let me know what you want me to talk about on the next future episode of the series. Be well, everybody. Nice to see you.